Hello, I'm Derek German for Pioneer News, here today with Congressman Steve Womack, who has been touring several different programs within Gentry High School today, and will talk with us briefly about the outlook of education. So, Congressman, what would you say the most exciting thing happening in education is currently?
Well, look, there's a lot of great things going on in education, but I think the most exciting is the fact that our country and the educational institutions that support it have finally had this epiphany that career and technical education is something we have been underselling and where we have been underperforming as a country over the last many years. And what I have seen is I've seen a resurgence in the career and technical education piece. Uh, Everybody knows that the things that drive the American economy today are becoming more and more complex. Technology is changing every day. And the ability to attract the workforce with the skills to be able to work on a lot of this equipment, whether it's a big diesel rig or doing something like you're doing today with journalism, that finding the people that do those kinds of things is getting harder and harder to find, particularly when it concerns working on a lot of these high complex machines, very complex machines. So I personally like the fact that we are now beginning to um, demonstrate to America's next great generation that there are a lot of great jobs out there in that skilled workforce arena, and that this is a great place to be able to start it right here at Gentry High School. So a young person today with a few years in the educational curriculum can now leave this setting and go right to work for a company like a McKee Foods or another one of the associated industries around here, a J.B. Hunt Trucking as an example. So you can get some basic education here while in the classroom and then parlay that experience on into a really nice paying job out there without having to go pursue a four-year degree and run up a lot of college debt, those kinds of things. So there's room at the table for everybody, and I think the CTE piece is a really important development in the last few years in our country.
And what job skills would you say are most important for students given the current job outlook as they go into the workforce?
Well, there's no doubt that the technological advances in this country require that people come in with basic understanding of how computers work. You know, Governor Hutchinson has had a major initiative at the state level on computer coding. It's been met with overwhelming success. Nothing that we do today does not involve some ability to do computer coding or programming or something related to computers. And the more you know about that, the more you can understand it and learn it at an early age. And we all know that the earlier you begin to learn, the more it takes. That the more you do of that, the better capacity you have to land one of these really nice paying jobs out there in the future. So my recommendation, look, I believe in a total education, don't get me wrong, but I do think that people that understand matters of current technology, computers, coding, the way that the components work, the way they talk to each other, communicate with one another, how that whole cyber arena functions. I mean, I just think that there are so many opportunities out there that the more you can do of that while you're in a high school curriculum, the better off you'll be.
And is there any current legislation in the House that you could see benefiting students and educators in the 3rd Congressional District of Arkansas?
Well, look, we just reauthorized on the House side. We just took up the Perkins reauthorization, which goes right to the heart of career and technical education, to be able to allow school districts like Gentry to tailor-make some of their programs to fit the needs not only of the students here but of the surrounding workforce. My recommendation to the Senate would be to get on it, follow the House's lead, and understand that the CTE piece on the authorization side of legislation is a very, very important component. And the world is changing. Technology is changing. And so there's going to be a lot of other initiatives that will be taken up by the House and the Senate and hopefully signed into law that will do its part to ensure that kids today that are coming out of school are prepared for what awaits them out in the workforce, And if we don't do that better, then we're not going to be able to fill a lot of the jobs that I think are important. But along that same line, let me just say this, and I shared this with the kids in the diesel mechanic program. When I have a captive audience, I always want to kind of preach to them just a little bit. And this may be the most important thing I say to you in this interview. There's a lot of temptation out there on the part of teenagers today, primarily because we're in constant contact with one another, to go out and do something profoundly stupid. and I'm talking about kids being introduced to illicit drugs, alcohol, things that will take your life off course really quickly. And so, and I say this only because when I tour my district and I talk to my job creators, the two things that they tell me are the biggest problems for them in hiring workforce is, one, they have trouble finding a skilled workforce, the kind of workforce that can leave school, go right to work in a really nice paying job and be able to operate the equipment, the highly technical equipment that our manufacturing facilities have today, robotics and on. The second part is they have a hard time finding people who can pass a drug screen. Now that may shock some people, but sadly it's becoming more of the norm than it is the exception, that kids today have a predisposition to go out and experiment with a lot of stupid stuff. And all I can tell you is that when you're operating in a highly complex environment, because of requirements, insurance requirements and other requirements on the part of people that insure our manufacturing operations, they want to make sure that they've got people that can, one, do it, but also do it safely. And when somebody's mind is altered by illicit drugs, they become a liability to the workforce, and therefore they become unhirable. So my strong admonition to young people today is get the required training and education and stay away from the stuff that's going to take you off course. Because the cloud that can hang over your head just by doing something stupid that you didn't really set out to do, but a peer maybe talked you into it, that the cloud that can hang over your head can be there for a lifetime. And I want our kids today to get the training and education they need and also enjoy the freedoms of living and working and being a producer in a country as great as America without having to, take a few steps through the criminal justice system. So thanks for allowing me to preach a little bit to kids, but I can tell you the temptations are out there. Just do what you can to avoid those at all costs.
Well, we thank you very much for your time and appreciate all the good things you're doing for us and the Congress. So thank you for your time. Thank you. Appreciate it.
My honor. Go Pioneers.
Yes.